Hi, everybody. How y'all doing out there? So I'm
There we go. There we go.
Yeah, a little
Clap it
excitement
up,
for your
clap it up.
afternoon. That's great.
so I'm Ann Greenberg, and a lot of you know me, but I'm a serial entrepreneur. I left the film industry, the feature film industry, in the early 90s to create a company called Ion. Ion was a studio of the future for omnidirectional, interactive, and immersive entertainment to do co-creation, and we got pigeonholed in the music industry because the first product we shipped was with David Bowie, and we became partners with Bertelsmann. So I always said, I don't have a background in music, although I did play the flute every day while I was growing up. But I've been slumming in the music industry for a long time. And, for me, in the early 90s, this was about the breakdown of walls between traditional media, because with a sound and with a piece of, with an image, these are two ends of a spectrum. And when they're digital, they're interchangeable. So it's appropriate that we're following the legal panel because, of course, there's a huge amount of legal issues with music online and using technology. And we have an amazing panel for you today, all of who are working in the music space or in the audio space, and then also in the visual space as well. So I want to just say, let me give you a framework. So we have everything from generative AI music, which creates static music, meaning music that's going to compete with the way recorded music has been marketed and distributed for a long time, all the way over to dynamic music or adaptive music, music that's going to be responding to your environment or your gameplay, for instance. And so I would say let's just dive in. Our first panelist is Tommy Beringer from Tracksy. And and I want Tommy to show a video of what they're doing over at Tracksy and then introduce himself. And what we're going to do is we're going to take a look at a piece of media for most of the panelists, and they'll introduce themselves, and then we'll dive into some of the questions. So go for it, Tommy.
Sounds good. Thank you. Were you playing the video first, or am I introducing myself?
Video first, please.
This is our music-to-music tool called Tracksy Revamp, where you upload a stem up to 8 bars and then select a genre or a mood you want to hear the track back in, and then a length of the track, and then click upload, and you will get back a fully mixed, fully arranged, fully instrumented track back based on the genre or mood or length that you selected. Let's go ahead and show you an input. This is something I uploaded. Okay, here's an output. Let me show you have it with vocal as well.
Jesus, please forgive me, I have sinned. I came for money, I came to win. And oh, Mom, I'm sorry I was wrong. But I spent some time on this, so I can't come home.
Okay, here's the output from that. Now the vocal one, it doesn't have the vocal incorporated into it, but this instrumental that it created with that a cappella, you can use the instrumental or backing track, place the vocal a cappella over it, and it will work with the track. Pretty crazy. Thanks, guys.
That's awesome.
Thank you. Thank you.
Go ahead and tell us a little bit about your company.
Sure. My name's Tommy Beringer. I was in the music industry for roughly 18 years. I wore every hat in the music industry, producer, songwriter, mixer, mixing engineer, mastering, artist relations, A&R, etc. Then I made a complete pivot into head of product at a SaaS company. So that gave me my product chops and understanding, technically how things work, how to talk to developers and so forth. And yeah, this is my company, Tracksy, and we empower musicians and creators with AI collaboration.
Next up, we have Evo Heyning.
Hi, I'm Evo. We can go ahead and start the video, and I will talk over it as much as I can. and tell you just a little bit about what we've been creating, if we can start the Oracles vid. So I'm a creator, technologist, producer, writer, and as a kid I was a musician. I wrote a lot of music, but I didn't necessarily put all of that down into albums. I was one of those kids who would sing at Disney and that sort of thing. So you may have seen me on stage 30, 40 years ago.
From Big Bang's blast.
Today, we've started a band, and you can go ahead and hit play. That's totally fine. I'll talk over it. So our new band is called Oracles.
Evolution's path, unfolding its plan.
So as you see here, we've used a dozen different large language models to write this album, which includes 10 tracks.
Setting the stage for our face-to-face. Connected we stand in this intricate web.
Video here is done mid-journey to Kyber. We also use Runway, Deforum, Pika, Wonder Dynamics, Topaz, and a couple of other tools. The voices you are hearing are 11 labs. These are ciphers. And in our album, we have trained our voices to make the music with us. So the music is all made by humans. My bandmate had a band called London Beat back in the day, and he also has a tool today called Focus at Will. So he's an expert in writing flow state music and in hypnotic music. So Deeper Learning is the album that we are currently finishing up. He's in the studio today with keyboardist formerly of Earth, Wind & Fire. We've got folks from the EDM scene who are joining us on some of these tracks, as well as rock artists. And the full album lets us explore and try different things in generative media while still remaining creators and artists. And so we're going to explore some of the different types of tools and methods and how we came into that today. But also, I want you to understand, as we're looking at the sort of process over the last year, how we've navigated some of the things you've heard about today around consent, around ethics, around how do you publish appropriately, given this is a very sort of moving landscape. So we're going to duck that sound, but you can see all of this on YouTube at Oracles AI.
Thank you so much.
Very cool.
So Karen Allen and I have known each other for a good long time. Karen has a very, very deep background in the music industry. And in 2020, Karen and I were chatting, and she told me about this little company that she knew the CTO of, which was doing adaptive, responsive music using AI for games. And I said, Karen, you got to do that company. There's a huge need for that. And so, Karen, why don't you tell us about what you're doing after we take a look at a video?
So that's what we have. Thank you. We just launched that on Friday at TwitchCon. We officially launched, so I spent the whole weekend talking to gamers again and again and again. It's great. I love TwitchCon, actually. So we do infinitely generative AI music for games, gamers, and live streamers. And what I mean by that is we can do B2B SaaS into games. So we can create the actual music for the game. We can create alternative music for the game. We could also be a virtual good option for to monetize existing behavior of gamers who are pausing, muting game music and playing something else. So there's definitely a B2B game version of this. Our first iteration, we are targeting gamers. So we are an Overwolf app. So we're for PC gamers right now. Overwolf, if you don't know, they pull APIs from games, and it's an SDK, and we built an app for it. So we get our game event data from Overwolf. We make music with it. Any PC gamer can use it. We are targeting Twitch streamers because there's a very clear need for copyright-safe music that's also interactive with the game. And we have, as you saw, we have an extension on Twitch, so viewers can spend bits or even channel points to interact with the music in real time. So we are a very needed solution for them. We monetize with the live streamers themselves, and we help them engage and monetize their viewers too. So that's our first product out there right now.
Congratulations on launching and getting on a beta. That's awesome. Next up, we have Zach Johnson. And Zach has a company called LMNT. He came out of Google Glass, if you'll all remember that, where actually John Radoff has an amazing interview with Zach, which I would encourage you all to go take a look at, where they can get a lot deeper. But Zach, tell us about your new company, LMNT, which does synthetic voices.
Yeah, so we're building foundational models for speech. Sort of the reason that we chose to go down that path is, we saw text being solved, we saw images being solved, and we're like, okay, well, obviously voice is going to need to be solved as well as a part of that. And we can do synthetic voices, we can do like clones of voices. So if you have, for example, a voice actor that you're working with, and you want them to be, have a generative game based off of that, and they want to sign all the terms and all for that, we can totally do that. We have an API, and you can integrate it in kind of whether it's games, media generally, across the board. And we're really proud of the quality of the synthesis that we get out, and also the speed. So when you talk about interactive content, it has to be fast. Yes, you can play tricks to try to hide some of the latency and stuff like that, but if it's just not fast enough, it doesn't matter. And so that's kind of what we set out to do. Yeah, you can go try it online.
That's totally awesome. So, Tommy, you call your technology a musical assistant. You want to share with the audience why you did that and why it's so important to you?
Well, one, positioning is important, right, when you're going to market. And with the product I just showed you guys, that's more of a collaborative effort than the product we have live right now to roughly 25,000 users. The product that was just shown there is to about a couple hundred in a beta right now. And that's more of the collaborative effort where you can upload a piece of music that you own, a stem, and then collaborate with the AI from there. And then even with our product that is live right now, we have users that use it in conjunction with Pika Labs, Runway ML, Midjourney, and a lot of people I'm seeing tweeting right now, like as we speak, they entered this competition called Gen 48, I think, from Runway ML. And then I'm just seeing people posting stuff that they're using our music for their videos, which is amazing just to see. But that's why we say collaborative assistant, because you are incorporating your brain into the
so
product.
you're starting with music, so it's music to music, right? And the output is somewhat static in the sense that it's linear, correct?
Correct. So, well, it's created in real time. So we keep a human in the loop, and the data that is created, the music, is made by humans. So the one shots, when I say one shots, I mean like drums, snares, hi-hats, kicks, piano, progressions. Those are put into buckets, and we have those tagged. So for example, if a user selects hip hop and they select a duration of 1 minute, it'll go out and select, the hip hop snare, hip hop kick, the different stems, put it together, and then spit out the output that is based on those tags for the different stems.
Got it. And tell me a little bit about your business model at Tracksy.
Sure. So with Tracksy, we are bottom up. product-led, freemium model, subscription model. So, just try to provide value as quick as possible to the user. And yeah, that's
So you have different breaks for how many songs someone can download and whether there's attribution or not. You want to speak a little bit to that because I think it'll be interesting.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So with the freemium plan, you have to give attribution to Tracksy wherever you post it. With the other plans we have a creator plan and a professional plan. You don't have to give attribution to Tracksy. And
is that visual or sound tone or how do you do that with music?
So with the attribution, you mean? Well, they would put attribution to Tracksy wherever they're posting the music.
Okay, so text-based.
Text, yes, correct.
Gotcha. Great. Well, is there anything more you want to say about like how you're reaching your audience and?
Well, it's we're very lucky right now. We have free organic growth. We haven't paid for one ad. It's been a lot of UGC, so a lot of users generate content, post about it on social media, and then it just has began to catch fire. It's kind of crazy to see this ride. I hope it continues like this. We will probably have to pay for ads soon, but we haven't yet. And it's just about, I attribute that to just going out, being an evangelist for your own company, talking about your company on social media as much as you can. One of our advisors said, I said, how do we start? We had 0 users. He's like, go out there and talk on all of your social media platforms about it every single day, and you will see this snowball. And it has this is insane. So that's
awesome. And Evo, so I have known you for a very long time, mostly from the XR space. But you also wrote a book last year called Prompt Crafting and created an entire community around prompt engineering. And so I'd like you to talk a little bit about that and then how that inspired you to do a band. Usually a band starts with the music, but this is very conceptual. It reminds me of the Monkees in the strangest way, which
it is very conceptual. And like you, my bandmate and I have known each other for 10 plus years. We met each other at Singularity University, Wisdom 2.0, in places in the community. And so when I wrote Prompt Craft, I wrote the original guidebook. I released it in February. And my bandmate, Will, came to me and said, I love the ideas you're playing with here. What happens if we write an album? Let's try. And so we started, and this would have been February, maybe early March. And so we started inquiring with many different large language models, what does it mean to be an artifice? What is a transformer? What does it mean to be a transformer? And we wanted to hear not lyrics, but poetry, beat poetry from the AI POVs, plural, right? And so we asked each large language model to identify with a musician that you want to embody and why, right? And so those kinds of pieces are becoming a separate book, and then the concept album. And the concept album is this whole other beautiful beast at this point. It's a collab.
Is there a date for when you're dropping this album?
January. We are doing a short, basically 4-track this year, and we're going to do the full album in January, and we'll be touring in January. So the business model is somewhat traditional. I remember we were talking a little bit about business models, and we do want to make the best use of the generative media space, and that includes bringing down the cost of music videos from $200K to something that's 3 or 4 figures, right? So much of music production is all of these other things that you have to do that generative tools can bring down the cost or the time of, so that we can be collaborative all over the world with artists who maybe are living 4,000 miles away and are never going to make it to the studio to work with us.
Where are you touring?
Well, we're based in LA as far as the band goes. We are still setting up dates, and we'll announce all of that at Oracle's AI soon. But
that's
our
website, oracles.ai.
Oracles.ai will be up soon, and at Oracle's AI on social. But yes, we're starting to talk to a couple of festivals.
By the way, I'm a customer of Focus at Will, so I highly recommend that for anybody.
Yeah, so Will Henshaw, my bandmate, built Focus at Will to think about flow states. And the music as we are generating it, we're using our voices and training new models. But the goal is to take people through a flow state experience that is hypnotic, that feels like The Wall or Depeche Mode or one of these albums that feels like a whole journey. So we look forward to sharing that with you soon.
That's awesome. Karen, so where do I start with you? I guess you wrote another book written by a wonderful woman. These are great books. You should look for them, called Twitch for Musicians. And I think that gives you a really unique perspective because she's been working with musicians on Twitch for a long time and became the sort of go-to expert for it. And I think that gave you a lot of insight as to why streamers are going to need something like what you're building with Infinite Album. And I would love it if you could tell me about what you announced this week, including the music packs, and how and what are some of the obstacles that you're encountering in terms of the state of the law, and what your business model is for, let's say, when someone streams onto Twitch and then you have music incorporated in it, which you may or may not be able to protect.
Yeah, so that's a big question. So I used to work for the RIA when they were suing Napster, and I was an artist manager as my first job. So it was very important to me and also to my partner, my co-founder, that we respect artist rights. We haven't trained against anything that's been copyrighted. We train against public domain songs. All of our engineers are also musicians, so they use just a lot of just general music theory and stuff they've kind of written for the purpose of this. And all of our instruments are from commercial libraries. So that's the core. That's what you heard there. That's the core of it. We've been in beta for most of the past year. Our music's been streamed for thousands of hours on Twitch. We haven't gotten a single copyright strike or notice, nor should it, because it shouldn't really match up with anything that is in Audible Magic or PEX or any of the listening services. That's been proven out. We just launched our first artist sound pack. We plan to do many artist sound packs. And the intention is not to replicate.
What is an artist sound pack?
Yeah, it's basically an add-on. So like in the demo, you saw that we grabbed one of the styles from the style library, started making music with it. One of those styles would be an artist style. And they would co-create with us.
And that's entirely trained on their music catalog.
Yeah, well, mostly, yeah. Yeah, ideally all of it, but it kind of depends on what they give us.
Right.
Yeah, and using most of their instruments from their DAW, sometimes ours too, to kind of fill stuff in. We're a little different because we're real-time generative, so we're not just grabbing loops and pulling in loops using AI. We are creating music moment to moment, note to note. So we need every expression of every note of every instrument, so we can pull it in. So it's not as simple of a task as just pulling stems and chopping them up and off we go. So that's the difference. So we just launched this really great artist sound pack with Thomas Barrandon. He is a French synthwave artist and film and TV composer. I think it sounds a lot like the Tron soundtrack that Daft Punk did. It's really, really fun. And he used our instruments to do it in all of his presets, which made our instruments sound like 15 times better. So yeah, it's really fun. So that's going to be included in our subscription. We have a free ad-supported version, so most of our artist sound packs will be sold as an add-on for the free version. And yeah, it's just really fun to work with artists. I mean, I do think our music sounds so much better. I think AI music in general, honestly, is only so good, and it sounds better when you have an artist sort of coaching it along.
Absolutely.
And it's better when you have proper artists, not just devs who are also musicians, but proper artists.
I think that was my entire last company, actually,
You know what I
at
mean?
Grace Note.
There's devs who are musicians and hobbyists, and there's people who actually have made film soundtracks and have 10 million streams on Spotify and they're proper. So we definitely want to work with more and more like that. And to that end, we have a whole royalty back end. We're not the first to do it. We are one of the first to do it. So when we sign an artist, we sign them for their music, however we use it in our whole system. And so we kind of get permission from them through that way to use them for training data and other styles. So now that the style is done, we can start saying, okay, so what was good about this, and how can we use this in Electro House or Dreamy Ambient or any of our other styles to make those better? And we keep track of how much of their work was put into that, and we can pay them downstream and give them a revenue share.
Hallelujah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, this was back in the Napster days, because I was at Gracenote at the time, and they wanted our help. And I was like, you guys, I love peer-to-peer, but you only have half the solution. All my artist friends are pissed. And I said, you got to figure out how to make this transactional. This was 1999. But I also told them they had to pay the audience. And that they took exception to. They weren't very nice about it. But, the truth of the matter is, we have a continuum from, professionals to hobbyists to, people taking a class to, just your average consumer. And everyone is creative, and everyone deserves to be able to participate in these formats and also get paid for it. And so I think that's one of the major shifts that I'm seeing that AI could enable. It's a cultural shift. It's, as John was pointing out earlier, our civilization is going to change. And we get from one to many, which is what we got with recorded music, which has only existed for 100 years, people, right? To many, and many to many actually can scale. And of course, you need powerful compute, smart algorithms, and some other things, which we now have. So I want to move on to Zach and say, okay, Zach, the question for this panel is, are we going to be able to do synthetic singing? Because I know it's on the roadmap of some of the people sitting on the stage.
It's on our roadmap, text to singing. But the hard part for us is real time. My co-founder actually built a text-to-singing music messaging app in 2015. It was top 10 worldwide. Sold to Google. It was really good. But you chose from an existing song, and then you just wrote your message out, and it did it as a track. So it was, I don't want to say easy, but it wasn't extremely difficult. Ours is extremely difficult because we have to do it in real time. We have to make the singing voice at the same time we have to make the song. It's difficult. So if you have a solution for that, we'd love to talk.
Yeah, we should talk. So for us, definitely singing will happen. We're seeing most of our market pull for non-singing right now, so that's where we've invested most of our effort there. But we did, as an experiment, try rapping, and it actually works surprisingly well. So yeah, you could put in a rapper into the system, and then you could get something that sounds like rap out the other side, and you could line it up. And it requires more effort right now than obviously you would want for fully automatically generated. But yeah, I mean these models, I think when we look at where foundational models are going, it's not that you're going to have a foundational model that just does speech, but you have a foundational model that can also sing, and you should be able to ask for. I'm maybe not the best singer out there, but what would it sound like for me to sing opera? Right? Like that's
going to auto-tune the world.
Yeah, auto-tune, but it's not going to sound like auto-tune, right? It's you may want that auto-tune sound, and yeah, we'll be able to produce that, but it's not. It'll be natural.
So speaking of natural, tell me how does your business function, and how can we take synthetic voices that sound natural and create, different kinds of artwork that has never existed before?
Yeah. So for us, business model-wise, it's consumption. And so you pay for what you use. We like to try to keep it simple there. We don't want to have 5, 10 different plans. You're like, oh, which one do I pick? Just pay for what you use.
And how do you do that?
And how we do that, we have an API that you can call into. It's Stripe billing, kind of standard SaaS model.
Okay, so you're definitely business to business.
Business to business is where I think you'll see most of the interesting revenue. But from a consumer standpoint, we find it. I think on one of the earlier panels, we were talking a little bit about like the democratization, right? Like we're both giving tools to the high-end people who are already creating, which enabling them to create even better, right? But also like, pulling people off the street and being like, well, now you can create something that's highly compelling as well. getting started, right? Like that's we look at it as kind of like a continuum, a ramp, and there's a consumer product which is for those folks, but for us, yes, we're more of business to business.
Got it. Well, I want to open it up to the panelists to be able to talk about where you're going with these businesses. What's, in the short term, the near term, and, and further out on the horizon, and what are the obstacles? And then I want you to put it out there. What it is that you're looking for. Are you funded? Are you looking for more funding? Are you looking for collaborators? Put it out, because this is an amazing audience here in the room, and then we'll open it up for questions. So we don't have to go down in a line, just jump in there. And
I'll start. Yeah. We're looking for funding for sure.
That was quick.
Yeah. We have just under $1 million in the company over the last 5 years. We've been very frugal with our money, but it's go time now. I'm a big believer that startups are all about timing. I've seen so many good ideas come and go when the timing wasn't right. And the timing is right for
she
this.
She looked
it's
at
right.
me when she said that. Did you see that?
The timing for this is like literally right now. So it's go time for us to really, pull the stops out with marketing and product. So funding is big for us. I'm looking for games to do B2B deals with. I'm looking for artists to collab with. And that's the main things I'm looking for right now, really.
Great.
Yeah.
Evo, how about you?
Definitely waiting for the singing model, because we had to go spoken word until these tools work well. We're looking for collaborators ongoing. That includes for music video touring and the rest of the release structure for oracles. And also for the next world building book, there have been a couple of you who I may try and talk to about the next book as well. But most of all, it's collaboration for us. Like, I love trying all of your tools. I'm a DJ, so I want to see if this works. I want to see if this works, because if I'm mixing next year, I need things to mix with my own music too, right? So anything that saves me time as a performer, as a producer, I'm down to try it.
That's what it's all about, is saving time. I think in any vertical with AI, it's about streamlining the process for the creator or for that business, and that's what AI is doing. If any businesses have not adapted AI within the next 6 months, they're going to start going down, because you have to be right now. We're an AI first company, and can AI do it first than a human? You go to AI first to see if it can help you do the process better. Kind of like there's the coin term 10x developer, right? So that AI is your 10x developer at your arm's reach right there. And then for Tracksy, in the very beginning, talking about timing, Karen, because in the very beginning we went out, we had like 0 users, and we were looking for funding at that time. You need one person dedicated to go look for funding, and I was doing that as well as doing a lot of other hats in Tracksy, and it took my attention away from the company. I stopped looking for funding, and then the growth started happening. So yes, right now, I guess you can say we're looking for funding, and also creative or strategic partners that will help us along the way as well. And then Zach, I had a question. So with the voice synthesis, could you create the BPM to that to sync to a song?
Yes, you can. We can talk more about
Okay.
how to achieve that with what we have today.
Right.
But yes.
All right,
yes.
awesome. Cool.
So I want to open it up for questions from the audience. Before I do that, I just want to, let me touch on one thing, which is what I was trying to get to also is this idea that with generative music, you can have dynamic adaptive music, which is a sea change. It's, yes, we get all sorts of levels of efficiency and speed to market and, and savings to our operations, but we also get a chance to do something that's never been done before, and I think I recently heard that functional music, which essentially would be, what we used to call music, but, in a retail store, or at your dentist, or, for therapeutic purposes, et cetera, that's going to make up 40% of the revenues. I was really surprised by that number, actually. But actually, before we go to the audience, I have one more thing I want to ask the panelists, which is, how are you using AI to market your stuff? I think that's incredibly important, because, of course, we all know with music, it's how you get above the noise. Spotify has 2 guys that are programming their playlist, and if you don't make it into the playlist, it's forest for the trees, right? So, like, how do you break into to get your signal up there, and can you use AI to do that, or any of you yet?
Yeah, definitely. Also wanted to add previously to the previous question, we are looking for an ML researcher to add to our research team. So if you know anybody who's awesome and is looking to join an awesome team at early stage startup, we would love to talk. How we're using AI, so we try to be as topical as possible with like the demos we create. So there was, we have some up on our YouTube. When all the layoffs were happening, we had a bunch of friends that were affected. And so I just created a bunch of like hilarious videos to just like try to recruit them. One was, if you remember like the Slap Chop guy from the commercial. So this was like Slap Chop, but like layoffs. And we actually got one of our folks to join because of that. So that's one. But yeah, it's really, I think it has to go in line with whatever social media strategy you're taking. Like, what is the topic of the day? What are the things that people are engaging with, and go there, right? And prime it with some content, and then see what the other people create.
Great. Anyone else?
I will say we use both Canva and Adobe Firefly tools extensively so that we can produce once and publish in multiple formats quickly. I don't like using most LLMs for writing social media content, but when it comes to planning my calendar, I do use those tools effectively. And then I would say, more than anything, it's mastering tools, anything that helps, like Topaz on the video side.
Amazing.
Yeah, it's amazing. It really makes it look so much better than a 2-person team should usually be able to do.
Okay, who's got a question? Oscar in the back.
Oh, it's on. Hello, thank you. Hi, I'm Oscar. Ava, we've been nearly introduced by Michael Garfield a number of times. So I'm a filmmaker. I made the first film written by artificial intelligence in 2016. It was nonsense, but in a way that delighted people. A year later, we made another one about a writer's strike in the face of artificial intelligence. That was 6 years ago, and now I've just finished being in the actual strike. The third year, which is why I'm saying all this, because it's relevant to you, we tried to get the machine to do everything, soup to nuts. We were like, I just want to prompt a movie into existence. I want it to direct. I want it to perform. We uploaded the cast from the original film into a deepfake engine. It was a disaster. We did it in 48 hours. It was terrible. But that's still what I want to do. And I'm seeing arrayed on this stage in front of me, like some of the parts that I need, right? I want to be able to generate a screenplay, or even just write a screenplay, press a button and have you guys score it, your guys perform it all, and maybe create at least an animatic with you. How far off are we, is my first question. And then my second question, a bit of a follow-up, is what I really want isn't that. I want the cinema that I go into and looks at me, sees how I'm feeling, and makes the movie I need in real time, and is changing the whole damn time to become the movie I need.
So you want the Martin Scorsese button?
I actually really
Right?
don't want the Martin Scorsese button. I want the me button. I want the look at
There
me
you go.
and become what I want. I'm a director, right? I'm like, make me the movie I want.
So
How far away are we?
So Oscar, I'm going to plug our next panel, which is in 2 panels from now, is the Film and AI panel, which Oscar is on. I call what he's describing hyper-personalization. Personalization is getting the right piece of content to the right user. We can do that with metadata. It's what we solved with GraceNote, my second company. But hyper-personalization was when the content changes based on who you are, and also who your crowd is, right? So we can have a compound ID for that. Panelists, when can we push a button and get something that's made for us? A piece of content, music, scoring, singing. I don't think it's that far off. I think everything is going
close.
incredibly fast.
Almost everything you described is pretty much available now. If you look at what Edward Saatchi did with the Show One tool, for example, being able to make a whole
South Park
episode, an
episode.
episodic, yeah. The intuitive piece, I think, is going to take us a number of years because we don't understand enough about intuition to deliver personalization effectively. So I think that's going to take us more like 3 to 5 years to really nail down.
I think also to add to that, I think there's differing levels of quality in terms of what people want, right? So if you're like sitting down to like watch something while you're eating, your dinner or whatever, yeah, maybe your quality bar is very different than when you go into a cinema, right? And I suspect that the future is not purely AI, but it is one where there's a sliding scale of human involvement, right? Like, mixed tapes went away, but they still exist. You can share a playlist to somebody and it has meaning and stuff behind it, right? The song titles, the tone, everything, how it all fits together. And so these are tools, and there will be an amount of getting 80% of the way there, but like people are still gonna want those like high quality curated experiences of somebody telling them something that's surprising, right? And I don't think the human's getting out of that loop anytime soon.
No.
Any other questions?
Yeah, and I have a question. It's
Wait.
Tim Morris with Cosverse right here, standing right here. This is for Tommy and for Anne. So when we're building model maps right now on the visual asset side, 18 to 60 hours developing them, when we try to assign based on text tags or meta tags sounds to all of those assets, it takes another 30 to 60 hours. We're looking for functional assets that we can match to tags right now. Is anybody able to help with that right now with our GLB or Unity models?
Okay, so I'll say that I think tagging is going to go away with AI. And I say that because, like, let's say in Tommy's model where he has music to music, that is going to have its own digital signature, which could be considered a tag, right? And that could be reused. And if you get the genre mapping right and you have, you know, a lot of intelligence in there, ultimately tagging goes away. But anyone else on the panel want to hit that?
There's a company that actually does it automagically with AI. I forgot the name of the company right now. Automagically. Do we have an echo for that? Automagically. So, and I know we're connected on LinkedIn now, and when I remember the name of the company, I will get it to you because it is, yeah.
I know there was a company
It'll
that
help
got
out.
funded out of Google Ventures that was doing large-scale tagging, if you will, for video libraries, and its name also escapes me, unfortunately, but that was already 3 or 4
There
years
were
ago.
3 or 4 pre-pandemic, but some of them didn't make it.
Yeah, but the point being is that in 6 months, this is just not even going to look the same as it is today. I mean, I'm long of tooth, right? So I've been in this space for a really ridiculously long time, and I have not seen a more exciting time in technology in my career. And it's breathtaking. And I think that it is revelatory in the sense that we're going to have, you know, we're going to try to copy the artwork from last century, but we're going to get wholly new kinds of artwork and artists in this century that we can't even imagine today, truly. Anyhow, please give it up. Any more questions? No. But please give it up for this wonderful panel and the incredible work that they're doing. One thing I love to just say is that oftentimes in generative AI, we get criticized for, you know, taking the easy road out. Well, I can tell you this is not easy at all. And, right, am I right? So, so anyhow, thank you again, panelists.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Anne.
And Tommy.